For the love of God, if you've been watching the news, you'll know that Netflix just basically put in a deal in order to buy Warner Brothers for like $82.7 billion. And the main thing that I want you to understand is a few concepts from that specific deal. And every time you see the headlines and you see stuff like, oh, this company wants to buy this company wants to buy this, you think Hollywood drama. But the real lesson is that the more you own, the more money and opportunities you'll create for yourself as a creator. And it's really funny, and I've literally just sat down and looked at this deal, and I'm like, this is crazy, like almost $100 billion. Like, that's insane. And I think about like most creatives actually just chase views, but studios like Netflix chase ownership, and that's why they win. It's kind of crazy like how this happens, but in this video we're literally going to be talking about how you should be thinking like Netflix instead of just thinking like a YouTuber. Hi, my name is Pedro Millán. I'm an owner of 2 SMMAs that do multiple 6 figures, have more than 50 million views and 100 appointments plus set, and a Grammy to my name. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want you to learn how to make better content and apparently make more decisions like Netflix. But today we're literally going to be talking about how big media is changing the game for creators overall. So, if you've been watching the news like me, obviously you saw the deal between Paramount, Comcast, and I think Netflix overall was like the headline, but like Paramount and Comcast are also trying to buy Netflix for roughly the same price, right? So I want to really explain, just take a second, like what exactly big media or Netflix is trying to buy. First of all, they're trying to buy attention, which is essentially the audience that they literally have had for like multiple decades. Speaking about Warner Brothers, IP libraries, also the shows and stories and characters that they've developed over the past multiple decades. On top of that, revenue engines, because Warner Brothers is the owner for HBO, right? And a bunch of other channels that are under that umbrella, right? Which includes subscriptions, listings, and also spin-off series from the original stories that they already have under their umbrella. And I want people to start thinking their YouTube as kind of like a tiny studio, or just in the sense, essentially the space that they use in order to create content. The reason being is because if you only chase views, you can only build things that you create. You can never actually build things that you actually own. You'll just feel broke and replaceable. Because to be honest with you, it's like YouTube is a platform. It's not necessarily a platform that you make for yourself, right? I'll give you an example. Just using Netflix as the main, I guess, company to make this distinguishable from, is that Netflix is essentially a platform plus data. Essentially a platform that creates things and also has the opportunity to have an audience to basically stream the stuff that has already been created. While as Warner Brothers is an IP catalog, IP being intellectual property, if you don't know what that means, plus franchises, which basically it's a clear translation to the current situation that we're going through right now. Platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram is essentially rented land. It's not essentially something that you own, which is kind of crazy. Your IP is your library, your frameworks, your stories, your opinions, your email list, and your offers, right? So the core lesson here is that most creatives obsess about over what they rent, being like, oh, their views on TikTok, how many subscribers they have on YouTube, and they ignore what they actually own, which is essentially the frickin' videos and the library of content and the lists of people that you have under your umbrella and your funnels, your offers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why you're flipping stuck. Right? So then you're always in this rat race of trying to get more views, more subscriptions, more people following you on a consistent basis and developing an audience that you don't actually own, which is crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? So studios think like, all right, cool. Now that we own all of this stuff, we can basically distribute it to the masses, and that way we can profit on it because we own the dang thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't go out here thinking like, all right, cool, we're just going to play on somebody else's turf and be fine. No, like Netflix has already been making movies for the past 10, 15 years. So then therefore, right now we just need a leg up in the movie distribution channel, right? Essentially like, all right, how are we going to get into making movies for theatrical productions? We're just a streaming software. All right, well, I guess we have to buy the frickin' one of the biggest production theatrical companies on the planet that house multiple thousands and hundreds of thousands of movies from, I think from the 60s or 70s, if I remember correctly. It's crazy. But that's how you have to be thinking about your own business as well. It's just like, you have to think in shows, in movies. You can't think in just posts, right? Like, I post on this channel every single day, while studios are posting flagship shows, seasons, spin-offs, and all these different things. And you could change the content that you make into the series that you make on a consistent basis. I'm not saying you have to like literally make a show of your own or anything like that, but what I'm trying to say is that your show or your intellectual property is a random reel in a lottery ticket. Studios build the dang IP, and you should too, right? So at the end of the day, when you're developing your studio, right, you should be the owner of that studio. You should be the owner of that distribution channel. You should be the owner of that, essentially that environment to put all of your content on. And I'm not saying that you have to make the next YouTube or anything like that. I'm not saying you have to be like the next, I don't know, like the next Warner Brothers. Main thing is that more creators should think like big media companies in the sense of creating their own IP or creating stories that are absolutely irresistible to the public. So that way, when they're making these theatrical productions, whether it be on a streaming software or just like straight up trying to get onto the big screen, they own all of it, you know? And I think that's kind of the weakness behind the whole like theater or movie ecosystem. I think honestly, like if people operate more like A24, for example, like independent filmmakers making independent films, you know, they own the dang thing. They own the dang movies that have Academy Awards, all the Emmys and Grammy winning movie selections and all this other stuff, right? All these awards for all these different movies and shows that they have available. But usually it's because they don't have the capital. They're not willing to find the people in order to work. Well, yes, that's half the battle, right? But at least they own it, right? So the transition from watching this video that I really want a lot of YouTubers to make, or just anybody that makes content, is that you are the studio now. You are the studio now. And from that, I want you to define what your studio brand is. Like if you were to own a Netflix, if you were to own any studio on the planet that essentially helps or creates IP for your specific productions, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you do exactly? Netflix was banking on I almost cursed there. Was banking on the idea that they wanted to make movies, theatrical productions accessible to the public at their house, at their home. For me, I want to help creators and business owners make money online with their content, right? You have to understand what you stand for. Like, for me, the skills you own and the content you control is literally the most important thing for all creatives, personally. And from there, you can develop your flagship intellectual property, being like, all right, cool, I'm going to be making this short film and I'm going to be posting it here. I'm going to be doing this short film. I'm going to be doing this show, this, that, and the third. I'm going to chop this into shorts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, redistribute them, turn them into podcasts, whatever it is. Because you see the same thing with podcasts, dude. Like, Diary of a CEO made the Flight Studio. It's still a studio, and guess what they own? All the flippin' shows of all the people, of the podcasters that are coming on to that show in the first place. So why can't you do the same? Because you don't have money? Fantastic. Bootstrap at first. Invest with your time. Because at the end of the day, you only have time or money. And more often than not, filmmakers, they only have time at their disposal right now and equipment. So then therefore, why not just make use of your time, at least the time that you do have, in order to make your studio happen? So that way you can own more of the uploads when you put them up online. Whether it be an email list, a newsletter, a simple offer that you have, consulting calls, audits, templates, it doesn't matter, systems, your content calendar, your frameworks, your workflows. Views pay you once, but IP and systems pay you for years. So why not become the owner of your own studio to develop IP that can be distributed to the world? And once you own all this stuff, I don't know, it's just like kind of crazy how I'd like to talk about all this stuff, especially like seeing $82.7 billion, right? But this is essentially how a studio is monetized and how you can monetize, right? Studios, they monetize through subscriptions, licenses, merch, live events, spin-offs, etc. For you, you're going to be monetizing based off of the stuff that you do on your end, right? So what does that mean? You probably have to mainly develop a team, maybe get some investments from other people, depending on literally what it is or who do you have around in your circle. But at the end of the day, everything's requiring effort and assets in order to build the life that you want, right? Like, I want to develop a studio that does this, right? I want to be able to develop the stuff that people will watch every single day, or, you know, maybe once a year and be like, hey, that was really great. Like, that was a really great piece of art. It's like the musician side of me, you know, just trying to create art overall. But a lot of people, they're just like, I just want to get on YouTube to make money. And that's cool. That's fine. But why not do both? Why not make something beautiful that people will appreciate, because that's part of the human spirit. But on top of that, while you're making that stuff, what if I told you if you could own it too? So I just want to make this like a wake-up call to like literally all the people who are filmmakers, content creators, and just overall people who make content for a living, just like myself. And I want you to take into consideration that big studios aren't necessarily flexing mergers. They're quietly teaching us the most important concept that creatives essentially ignore, which is essentially the more you own, the more money and opportunities you'll have. So stop thinking like a YouTuber and that's out here begging for views, and start thinking like a studio that actually is building assets like shows, systems, and offers that you actually own. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It's a pretty crazy time, to be quite honest with you. If you liked that video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, because I put videos out like this every single day and you don't want to miss them, and I really appreciate the help. Otherwise, if you are a person that loves making content and wants to make content for other people for money and actually develop a system for themselves that they can create a business that creates multiple six figures in just 90 days, click the first link in the description. We have a course and coaching program, and we would love to help you out, especially over there. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.